Alrighty.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 5th episode of Beyond the Lineup. I'm Xavier Math, your host, and today's guest is a longtime friend of mine and a competitor who's pushed me to be better, mostly because I can never seem to beat him in a heat, no matter how hard I tried. He's also the guy I used to give rides to school in exchange for donuts. So yeah, we go way back. He's a role model in the surf community and just locked an impressive 4th place finish at the 2024 Surfing for Hope Longboard event in Pismo. Please welcome my good friend Kai McPhillips.
What's up, Xavier? I don't know about the me beating you in every heat though. I think you got me a couple times.
No, you have a huge number on me. But seriously, thank you for taking the time to come on. I know you've been busy and you just came off that big result in Pismo. Congratulations again. That's a profound accomplishment and I'm proud of you. How are you feeling after making that final?
Definitely feeling good. That was a pretty big confidence booster. That's the best result I've ever had in a WSL event. So making it to finals day was definitely felt good.
Yeah, and you literally, I think you put like 15 points up in every heat except for the final, where I was hoping you were going to put like another 15 or 16 points up. But what did that event mean to you, and how was the overall experience competing up in Pismo?
Yeah, it was rad. I think I peaked too soon in that contest. All the first couple rounds went well, and then the final just did not go my way, which, whatever, it happens. But just to make the final alone was super rad, and I love it up north, so it was cool. I had my girlfriend up there, my grandparents came up, brought my dog, we camped, so it was like just a fun experience, even with the contest. And so, yeah. It was cool.
Absolutely. Up there, like, I used to live on the Central Coast, and it just has like a special place in my heart. And living up there, I know that you've spent quite a bit of time up there. What keeps bringing you up to the Central Coast besides maybe those contests?
The no crowds and that's the biggest part for me. San Clemente is so crowded nowadays, and not to bring anyone up north, don't go. It's super sharky and scary, but it's so rad up there. And just like I pictured, it's like what San Clemente used to look like before it was all like developed. Because up there, you still got. I mean, you're surfing, you look in, and there's a cow on the hill right in front of you. Like you can't see that around here. So that part definitely drives me up there a lot. And then just the people are so friendly, and the vibe's always cool. The water's cold, which most people don't like, but I actually enjoy that. And there's always waves. You're like finding places that like there's no swell because it's always pumping, where San Clemente, you're like looking for a place that's breaking.
100%. I mean, absolutely. Like, we've had some days up there where I feel like we're in like Western Australia with like no one else around, and like literally like head high barrels. Like, how many times have me and you just like gone up the coast and just found, like, remember that one wave in Big Sur, which I'm not going to name, but remember that one wave, and it was like only me and you paddled out, and it was like bombing 10-foot gnarly current, but it was a perfect A-frame. Like, I just remember getting one of the best barrels of my life, which might sound crazy to you because that was like probably like what? Like
I was the only one who saw it.
You were the only one that saw it on the beach too.
I'll claim it. It was the best barrel I've ever seen in person in my entire life. And I was because he got spit out right in front of my face. I think I took off on the wave before you, just ate it, broke my leash, and I'm pop up swimming, just like, oh my god, I'm gonna drown. And he's getting blown out of a tube, just like.
Yeah, and you had priority too, and you took off on that first wave, and you thought like, oh, this is going to be such a sick barrel. And then the one behind, like, dude, I barely scratched into it. I remember like airdropping, barely making it to the bottom, and just holding my line, and I just see like all this white stuff, like all this spit come out from the wave, and I just see you, and I just started cracking up. Like, it was the best experience of my life. Like, my best friend over there is swimming in the ocean, because I swear I saw you get like, you paddled out before me, so I saw you get like 2 nugs, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I get like at least one good wave. And I was like kind of nervous, and that thing just like literally was just gifted to
line
me.
up.
It felt like a gift from God. And we've also had like some pretty cool camping adventures up there. I mean, if you want to touch on that a little bit.
Heck yeah. I mean, there's so many places up there you can go like off the grid where you could surf all day, and then literally you drive on the other side of the road and you're camping in the like most beautiful, like not forest, but like just dirt roads that are no service, and like you kind of feel like you're in Baja, but you're still like in California and stuff. And it's definitely fun to get away from, you know, people every once in a while.
Yeah, so, that trip. I mean, Topt was there too. Tap got some pretty cool photos of just like us above all the clouds and
in our cowboy hats and cowboy boots.
Yeah. And with like a beer, you know, and the guitars and the boards. And I don't know, it just felt like we were like in a different world sometimes up on the Central Coast because there's just no one else almost around you. And 100%. I kind of miss that from being down here and going up there. But
it's fully like you were saying earlier, like a West Oz kind of vibe, even though I know we both haven't been there, but just like it's only 4 hours away from our home. Yeah. So we kind of get like a little bit of that experience from what we think. So it's pretty cool how close it is to us.
How do you think living up there has like impacted your life coming back down here?
It's definitely helped my fear of sharks, because if you live up there, you cannot be scared of sharks at all. Yeah, they're everywhere. And then just the cold water and just like forcing myself to get up in the dark when it's 40 degrees out and there's ice on my window and go to surf by myself at some spots where you got to show up solo definitely was like a pretty big like kick in the butt. Like, okay, you got to do this. And there was guys out even before me and I'm just like freezing and all nervous, piling out like, hey, am I going to get yelled at? And then most of the time everyone was pretty cool. So
I mean, we got yelled at that one time.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of getting yelled at for absolutely no reason, but it happens. I actually kind of like how they have it. Like, I wish it was still like that where we live, but it's okay.
Yeah, I will never forget that time when me and you decided to paddle out at this one reef where you're supposed to go alone and walk down with like your backpack and put your wetsuit on down there and like wait a little bit, and we just like went down and we did everything wrong. And I remember I was the one that got yelled at for it, and I think it was your idea to go out there, and I was like shit, dude, now all these local guys are yelling at me. And then fast forward now, like 4 years down the line, now I'm tight with hopefully some of those guys out there and ride for their board riders, which is a blessing because I still get to compete here and there now that I'm out of college.
No, you've put in your time up there for sure. That's pretty right. Every time I go up, I talk, like someone brings up your name, like, oh, Xavier from San Clemente, but has lived up here for what, over 4 years now? Right at 4 years. You got in school for 4 years.
Yeah, I was there for 4 years. I claimed 5.
Yeah, so you claim 5. That's more than most people live in San Clemente and claim to be Lowers locals. So you definitely put in your time.
How long have you been competing in longboarding? I feel like you kind of always have been, but I didn't know you were doing the QS.
Yeah, professionally competing just this last year, I've really I never even logged. Like, I grew up riding my dad's hand-me-downs, which in his longboard days were high performance, like thruster, pretty much like what you call a mid-length now, whereas his longboards, like 9.0, which nowadays that's tiny. It's like a mid-length. So I never really like learned how to log like 50-50 rails, like never ever rode one. Even competing like in the high school comps, I'd ride pretty high pro boards. And when I was in J-Bay last September for a month, there was like a flat spell of like 5 days, and I wanted a longboard so badly because it was like there was nothing to really do. And I hit up a friend over there, and he was a really good longboarder, Steven Sawyer, and he shapes his own boards, all like 50-50 old school rails and all that. And he let me borrow a board, and that was the first time I ever like rode one, and it worked really good. And I was like, wow, I can nose ride in the pocket and not slide out. Came home and then was like, you know what, I'm going to kind of shift from the shortboard stuff to the longboard stuff, and just like had so much fun doing it. And then now just like, it's almost all I ride now.
So you've been kind of competing for like maybe a year now professionally?
Just the first contest was the Pismo one, and that was last week, and that was the first. Oh, I did Morro Bay last year.
Yeah.
Lost first heat. And then, but that was like in the very beginning of like my longboarding, whatever you want to call it. But this Pismo one was like the first one where I like put in the time, practiced for it, like went into it pretty serious to qualify for the longboard tour. So
absolutely. Do you think this was like a breakthrough event for you?
Definitely a confidence booster. Yeah, they take the top 2 to the tour, and right now I'm 3rd. So the next event's in Virginia, which definitely not going to be my strong suit. I don't know how it's anyone's strong suit when the wave is not even wave, but yeah, I got put in a good performance there, and then hopefully I'm surfing bells in all the tour spots.
That would be epic.
Yeah.
What do you think like the difference is between like surfing here on the West Coast versus the East Coast? I feel like everyone's always so bummed to go out to the East Coast.
Well, the funny thing is, like, yeah, everyone's bummed, and then you see these like random hurricane swells that they get, and it's like, oh my gosh, is this even the same place? Like, its waves are firing, like better than any beach break you've ever seen in Southern California, but it only happens 5 times a year there. But like I go to North Carolina a bunch. We have good family friends who live out there, and like if I didn't live in San Clemente or a surf town around here, I'd probably move to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Besides Mexico.
Yeah, that
like
makes sense.
it's so rad. Everyone's so friendly. Like it's kind of like a California vibe. How like everyone here is on e-bikes and golf carts. Like there, everyone's just cruising around in boats, and like you're pulling up to bars in your boat with all your friends. Like it's so cool.
Dude, would you say they have kind of like a cowboy vibe at all?
Definitely. Like yeah, they got the accents.
Sometimes.
And the coastal parts, like no, like everyone's like sandals, trunks, just like kind of the same thing here. And then you go like inland a little bit, and then you get into the cowboy country, and like then it's like
that's so cool that it has both. Yeah,
it's like you get both best of both worlds of like the surf, cowboy, and I feel like up north kind of has that too.
100%. I mean, Taj freaking won
He's a perfect example,
and then rode his horse up the beach instead of getting lifted through a chair. I thought that was pretty.
That
cool.
will go down as the greatest win / chair up in I think the history of surfing in my eyes.
I couldn't agree more.
Like no one will ever top that. Yeah,
there's no way. But being a competitor for longboarding, shortboarding, stand-up paddleboarding, I think that's how you got into all of it. Do you ever feel like the surfing world undervalues how versatile athletes can be, instead of like just focusing on like one discipline, just like only focusing on shortboarding?
Yeah, I definitely think there could be more like appreciation for people who can ride all types of equipment. Like Kai Lenny is a good example where he's kind of taken that to the next level with like the big wave stuff, and with kites, shortboarding, sup, big wave surfing. And I've kind of always looked at him as like, okay, I'm definitely not going to get to that level of like surfing 50-foot jaws. Like that does not interest me at all. But my goal is like, I want to be the best on a shortboard, whether it's not like I'm surfing like Griffin Colapinto, but I could still rip a shortboard, ride a twin fin, ride a mid-length, hop on a sup every once in a while, ride a longboard. Like just to be good at like all those is like kind of my goal. And I feel like not too many people really see like the coolness in that.
Yeah, the waterman aspect.
Yeah, the waterman, right? Exactly.
Because I consider you like a waterman, but you're still like, most of the time when you go in the water, you're still one of the best surfers in the water, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Like no matter what you're riding, I think that's one of your strong suits. Like you can literally ride everything. I don't know. I thought that was like your motto. It
was Salt Life's like motto where it's like we had to hashtag it, like ride everything, which I thought was super cool. Like, because there's very few people that could actually do that. And so I feel it's like when I paddle out into the lineup, I like have a little bit of like ego boost. Like, okay, I'm on a twin fin today. I could still rip. Tomorrow I'm going to ride a shortboard. I could still go rip lowers. Like, it's kind of cool.
Well, you've won so many contests on a shortboard, and then your performance at Pismo Beach for the QS longboard event was super impressive. Do you think that longboarding deserves more recognition in professional surfing compared to shortboarding?
I think the last year they've done a pretty good job of kind of boosting it up a little bit, but they just don't give enough opportunity to like the people who are just right there, kind of like I said earlier, they offer 2 spots a year for North America region to qualify, which 2 out of, there's so many good longboarders I can name that are all like right there, and they only take 2 a year, which is kind of a bummer because there's so many people that should be on it that aren't. But they've done a pretty good job. Like, the tour now, they got like Bells, which is pretty rad. The wave pool, you got the US Open, and then the championships, which is El Salvador. So they've definitely upgraded the tour stops, which is rad. But yeah, they could definitely up the
quantity.
Yeah, right? That, and just like, I don't know, the effort they put into the longboard tour, I think maybe.
I think so too. They just did recently, like, I think they recently like changed it to like 10 girls instead of 6 for the shortboard.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But like 2 people, that's pretty, 2 men and women, or just 1 guy, 1 girl?
I think it's
2 pretty.
I think it's 2 and 2.
Okay.
But then if you're like top 5, you'll get a wild card into an event or something like that. I don't know. Some guys who get in the comps, I'm just like, okay, how in the world did you get in that? Like, I don't know who you got to know or how, but it's kind of frustrating.
Do you think the North American tour or side of it is the hardest too?
Yeah, got to be. There's still guys around the world that are amazing, but they just have less competition. I'd say less competition. There's like, you go somewhere, some other region where there's 3 just really insane guys who just dominate every comp, But then you go to the North America region and you have like 20 that are all insane, just like battling every comp. Like it's different when it comes to that. Like,
and any one of those guys could win the contest.
Any single one could win.
Versus like when they were like back in the day, like you either thought Kelly was going to win or Andy was going to win.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
and now anyone in the field can almost win.
The skill level now, it's like there's 12-year-olds, like you have to bring it back to shortboard, who are doing like backflips and stuff. Like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that was not happening.
That would have been like, what that kind of reminds me of is like Eli Hanneman doing like full rows and like backflips and that when he was like 12 years old. And that was like the most insane thing everyone saw. Like, and everyone was like, what the heck? Immediately became a Red Bull athlete, immediately got all this attention, sponsors, and now you see a 12-year-old doing a backflip and you're just like, oh, cool. You're just like every other.
Now it's normal. Like if you're not doing
how
backflips,
is that even normalized though? That blows my mind.
If you're not doing backflips by 12, you don't even post on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, there's kind of always been this stigma that shortboarding is cooler or more progressive than longboarding. As someone who thrives in both fields, what's your take on the division in the surf culture?
Yeah, it's definitely very different. Like growing up doing the shortboard QSs, you'll see like, I mean, there's very good local guys from San Clemente where there's Instagram videos of, him yelling after heats or punching a hole through his board, where like longboard, you do not see that at all. Like win or lose, people come in and they're just like stoked for the other guy. Everyone's friends for the most part. And just that aspect is very different, I feel like, which for longboarding, I think it's kind of better. They're definitely in Pismo benefited me because like longboards, everyone thinks that everyone's just so nice. Like you don't back paddle people on a longboard heat, like no priority in the beginning. Like, oh, just be nice, let this guy go. It's like when I went into the heat, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not how it works. Like on a shortboard, people will be paddling on top of each other, banging elbows. Like that's what I'm going to do. Kind of go like Gabe Medina style, which it worked last weekend. So I'm going to keep it going.
How do you think the rest of the competitors feel, even if that even matters to you?
It doesn't. It makes me laugh. But yeah, they weren't stoked. They were definitely getting a little talkative out on a couple heats with me, but I mean, that's the name of the game.
I mean, you're competing.
It's a contest. Right? Like you're trying to make money doing it. You're trying to, I mean, like there's only 2 spots that are up for grabs. Like I'm going to do whatever I can to get one of those spots.
That's so weird. Like I bet that just gives you an advantage coming from that shortboard QS like grind, like where people like if you make a little mistake, someone will get that and take advantage of it and make you pay versus like longboarding, like it's cruisy, everyone's friends, like oh, why don't you take off on that wave? I would have never guessed that in like a professional sport too. Do you think it'll ever make it to the Olympics?
Yeah, so actually there's talk of it being in the 2028, I think is the next one, the LA Olympics.
No way.
And there's definitely going to be, I don't know how they're going to do the choosing of who does it, but my guess would be whoever's on tour at that time, they'd probably take the top ranked guys like they do on the shortboard, from America and or from the USA. So that's kind of the long-term goal is like get on tour and get into the Olympics would be pretty sweet. I would be stoked. And I could see my dad definitely being the coach for that is my guess is what would happen. So to have him, like, if this does happen, be the coach and like I get a spot, it'd be a dream.
That'd be such a dream come true, I bet.
Except if they like run the contest at like Huntington Beach Pier.
Yeah, where do you think they're gonna run it? Malibu, Huntington,
Malibu would be rad. You just need a swell.
Right. Kelly's wave pool probably for consistency and fairness, and
I could see them doing that, which I don't think would be very good, but
have you ever surfed that wave?
I did when I was like freaking 6 years ago or something. I got to go there.
Is it tough?
It's not as tough as some of the new ones. It's like definitely the most nerve-wracking thing you'll ever do because you have this perfect wave coming at you and you're so nervous just like not to fall, and everyone's like looking at you like backing you up. If you fall, they're gonna go, and you pretty much I just like set up and just get tubed the whole entire wave. It was pretty rad.
And then you're on the big screen. And,
you're watching yourself on the screen.
There's like spectators and just the entire camp's looking at you, right?
I lucked out so hard. I went with, there were 7 of us, and a buddy of my dad's brought us out there and we surfed it. We had the whole entire day and just 7 of us all day long. And it was like, that would never happen ever again.
Right? Because it's probably so expensive to go out there.
I think someone did the math on the waves and it's like a crazy amount just per one wave.
Dang.
So the nerves were definitely kicking.
Like $10,000 a wave.
I don't know if it's that much, but like Yeah, definitely nerve-wracking.
Well, was there ever a moment where you had to get kind of worse at shortboarding or longboarding before you got better at the other? Like, did you have to sacrifice one to get better at longboarding? Or
I think I definitely maybe, I don't want to say dropped in skill level of shortboarding. I definitely don't shortboard as much as I used to, like growing up. Like we'd grind T Street, whether it was 1 foot or 6 foot every morning, no matter what. Like I definitely don't do that anymore. I'll go to Sano and longboard if it's 2 foot. Like I've kind of switched over to like, I ride the board that's meant for the conditions of that day.
Yeah.
And Timmy Patterson has definitely helped out with that, because we kind of, when I first started riding this board, it was just like shortboard. And I had like 15 boards of all this, pretty much the same, where like San Clemente, most people know, is like, besides lowers, there's not much out there. So like in the last, I think, year and a half, we kind of went in and told them like, hey, I want to go more like fun board route. Like, you know, keep my couple of short boards for good waves, but do like 2+1s, twin fins, like round noses, like more like general public fun surfboards. And I think that actually helped my surfing a lot, just learning how to like every day ride a different type of equipment. Has definitely like helped. Like when it's 2 foot, I'm gonna ride my twin fin, or you know, if it's smaller, go take out a log, or then when it's 6 foot trestles, okay, now the shortboard gets broken out. Like so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, you have a good relationship with Matt Violas Mayhem and also Timmy Patterson, Timmy's boards. Do you think that's what influenced you to switch over?
Yeah, Matt, growing up, I mean, it all started with actually Cole Simler was my first board sponsor growing up. Like he made me some pretty magical boards. I know you've had some of my hand-me-downs.
That was actually my first custom board I've ever had in my life, was a Cole, and I thought I still had it because it's my first custom ever made.
Well, I remember one you bought from me, and it was like a magic one of mine, but I think I like outgrew it or something, and you like broke it at 2 foot pier. And it was
drilled the pier.
Yeah, you drilled the pier.
You had to go surf. You had to go surf the pier. I was like, dude, it looks so bad. And that was a board, actually. I take that earlier comment back. That was a board where I beat you in 2 heats. Yeah. Or I think a final.
It was. We have photo proof of it, of my board, and you smoked me.
We'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Finally. On your board, too. Yeah, and I think I posted a photo on Instagram saying, like, Kai McPhillips taking it out.
Yeah, and then you decided to run straight into the pier and break it in half.
Oh, I was so pissed. I think I stopped surfing for a week. I was so mad. But, yeah, so you switched over to... Or you started with Coles.
Yeah, started from Coles, and dude, I still think to this day, I think my best epoxy board I've ever had was actually from Cole. And then kind of got to the point where I was like, hey, I need boards. Like I need a lot of boards. I need boards fast, like going on trips and all that. Then Mayhem came along, and he's always been a super close family friend. Like my mom worked for him when she was like 17 at Lost, when Lost first started like designing and stuff. Whoa. So we've had like a good family friend connection, and he was like helped me out as a kid, like boards, and then it kind of went to like, okay, Matt has a pretty good team of shortboarders. Like at the time, like you got the Crosbys and the Cade and Cole and that whole crew, and I was like, okay, like I'm kind of like a C team, B team kind of guy. Like Timmy, who my dad and uncle have had a super long relationship with over the years, and my uncle one day was like, hey, like Timmy wants to make you a board, and I'm like, oh, sick, like that could be kind of cool, like. So I think I sat down, had a good talk with Mayhem, and kind of told him like, hey, I think I'm going to kind of move over here, which is funny because they're pretty much neighbors down in the surf ghetto. Like their shaping rooms are next door neighbors, right? 100 feet apart. And he was super supportive of it. And ever since then, I started working with Timmy, and our relationship's super rad, like designing new stuff. And like I said earlier, kind of going like the fun route now, and going into his room and just chatting about surfing for hours and just hanging out. Like, so it's super cool. And he's been super supportive over the years. And now recently, like we're making longboards together and stuff, and
killer.
So like that's something that he hasn't done in a long time, so I'm like, cool, I get to bring that back out in him and like make some new stuff.
Well, if it isn't like obvious, like Timmy and Matt Violas are both like such huge advocates for the community, and totally. I feel like no matter what you're writing, they're just going to be super supportive because you're supporting the community and helping it out regardless. And
100%, both are like super good guys. I mean, you go around anywhere, almost anywhere in California, someone's either on a Mayhem or a Timmy. Like, they're everywhere, and that just goes to show they're really good equipment. They work good, obviously. So it's cool to see, and they're from our hometown right down the street. So it's pretty rad.
And actually, surprisingly enough, Cole actually had a huge influence on the Central Coast. I saw some of his boards up there.
Well, he lived up there. I think.
Oh, he did.
I don't know if he's from there. I don't want to say that, but I know he lived up there in Morro Bay for quite some time.
Yeah.
For a while.
I think he actually mentioned that maybe, but yeah. It was so cool seeing his boards because it made me reminisce on like my first custom board, and I kept that thing honestly because I saw a video of John like when I was a kid, like he pulled up his first like little custom board, and it was like that big, like 4 foot, you know, and I was like, I have to keep mine, even though I got into surfing a little bit later and got my first custom board a little bit later, but I was like, I'm gonna hang that thing. Like, I'm never gonna get rid of it.
I still got mine. My dad got me. It was a buddy of his in Japan made it for me, and I think it's maybe like a 3.0, like something crazy, and all my baby photos are me walking around with it, and it had glass in fins and everything. And as a kid, I would like stomp on it, broke all the fins out, but I still have it in my whole little quiver at home, and it's like this tall. It's pretty rad.
That's
got a cool paint job on it. It's like something I'll keep forever.
Well, your dad has impacted your life greatly, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How is your relationship with him?
Oh, good. It's best friend, hands down. We do everything together besides traveling and just everyday surfs. Like today we went down to Sano, just me and him, and brought the dog, surfed together, like surf trestles every day together, pretty much do everything. So it's pretty cool to have that as a parent and, you know, growing up too.
Seriously, not every parent and child ever gets that, you know.
No, it's so unique, so grateful special. For it. Yeah.
Well, your dad clearly has played a huge role in shaping who you are today, like even as like a person and also as like a waterman.
Yeah.
What's the most important lesson he's taught you about surfing or about life in general?
Definitely just keep it fun. I think growing up, like in the shortboard comps, like I kind of just got in my head and it was like, hey, this isn't fun anymore. Like win or lose, if you're having a bad time, like why do it? Like surfing's supposed to be fun, whether it's 1 foot or 6 foot or win or lose, like keep it fun. And I think that's definitely like shown in my different boards that I ride. Like it's kind of what I grew up like shortboarding every day, just the crappiest waves ever. And I started to get, okay, this isn't fun anymore. And then that's like a year ago, as I hopped on longboards, I'm like, okay, this is fun again. Like, and I think that's cool. Like every day hop on a twin fin and just keep it fun. That was definitely the biggest lesson I think he kind of taught me.
I think growing up at least super close to you, and especially in high school, like I definitely can take that away from him too. I mean, he literally gave me a fun board.
Yeah. And
I still have it to this day. I still ride it. It's like a mid-length and I love it because it keeps like those small like weird days so fun. And like I always remember like coming back after we'd surf like T Street or something because we'd grind every day. He'd always like, oh, I got breakfast burritos for you guys. Like, let's go surf after you guys get out of school. I was like, take a longboard or any freaking mid-length in there.
Yeah.
Kai, grab your longboard. Like, let's go try something new. And your dad is just one of those guys that like I definitely look up to, especially growing up with you and being able to have you as one of my close friends. But growing up in San Clemente in general is like has like a tight knit community just of like so much talent. Did growing up there feel like inspiring?
Yeah, totally. I mean, growing up, like going to surf T Street, and you know, you see Clohe out there every morning. Like as a Grom, even now, it's like you're surfing. Like there's so much talent in San Clemente, and now you got like Griffin, who's top 5 of the world in the world every single year. Like surfing with them, it's like definitely pushes you and your skill level like huge. And there's so many young kids like coming up that are going to be doing great things, and just overall just good kids, good people. And so it's pretty cool. San Clemente's definitely had a big impact on surfing in my life for sure.
Yeah. Do you ever think like there could be like a pressure growing up in San Clemente and surfing, like bad or good?
Yeah, I think definitely. Not so much on me, because I mean I kind of knew a while ago that, you know, the shortboarding wasn't really going to go. I wasn't going to go make the tour and do all that. So I kind of realized it early, but I think now there's a good group of kids, not even, they're men now, but you know, who are in the Challenger series, who I think definitely have the skill level to make it. And they're just like right there every year. And I'm sure they got a lot of pressure on them. Like Griffin made it, and then you got Crosby and Cole, who both made it and are doing insane. Like, there's got to be pressure. Like they're all good friends. Like to make it to that stage is, I mean, if I was in their shoes, I'd be pretty pretty pressured.
Yeah, I would feel super overwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely.
I couldn't imagine being in those shoes. You're trying to fill those shoes. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I remember you were surfing through like an ankle injury back in the day. Like, do you think that pressure, like, of keeping up, I guess, did you ever have any pressure? Because I feel like in any other sport, you wouldn't see like a professional athlete like go like just continuing practicing through an injury. Do you think there's like any sponsorship, or like is that just like the surfing addiction?
Yeah, I think it's probably just the addiction. Like I was only out of the water for 4 months, which to most people that's nothing for an injury. Like baseball players are out for a year, and that's like. But I was losing my mind. Like I started surfing again way too early. Like in a brace, my ankle was killing me. Like, but I just like did not care. Went against the doctor's orders. The physical therapy is like, yeah, you can't go surf. Like, there's no way. I'm like, watch me, I'm gonna go. And
Yeah.
definitely maybe prolong the pain for a little bit, which is probably not the best. But I'm all healed now. I was out of the water. I had a back injury that. I don't think it was an injury. It was just something that I was like, I think Cade actually has the same thing, and he got surgery on his. It's like it's L5 disc or something, like rubs on your spine, and just, I don't know, I was born with it. And that I had to deal with that went on for a year of just like really bad pain in my back. And then physical therapy helped. And then finally I kind of like figured out like whether it was just like positioning on how I surf or my posture or whatever. And I finally like conquered that. So I'm stuck, like no pain, no back pain anymore. Ankle's good, but yeah, injuries are not fun.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing a physical therapist. I've been seeing one for like 6 months now.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Kevin Dean at DSC. He's the man.
That's who I went. If he's listening to this, I went against his orders to stay out of the water. So don't get mad.
The funny thing is, he actually gave me the complete opposite order. He goes, dude, don't stop doing what you're doing, but like do it at like a maybe lower level.
Yeah.
Because he's
Pace
like,
yourself
dude, surfing like. That eases the mind, you know, like you were saying, like, dude, after I surf, like the mental part of it, I just feel so good.
Yeah.
And like the rest of the day is like easy because you're like getting up, you're going in the cold water. You had a fun surf regardless. Like sometimes I'll even have those sessions where like I'm in my head and I'm just having the worst session ever. And I could be not even do a turn out there.
Yeah.
And like just getting out of the water, knowing like, okay, I did it. I'm okay. Like just take a step back and breathe. Like
I think there's like a saying like surfing cures everything or something. Like this last couple months I went on the Surfers Healing Tour, and that's a pretty good example of like taking kids with special needs, and we took over I think 1,000 kids in a week surfing, and just to see the smile it puts on people's faces, like it's really true when people say like the ocean cures and like all that stuff. Like I believe it for sure.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing Yeah, I mean, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of the surf industry. I think sometimes surfers focus too much on chasing like sponsorships and the social media clout instead of actually the actual art of surfing. What are your thoughts on that, being like just transitioning from like shortboard to longboard?
Yeah, unfortunately, like doing the coaching thing a lot, I see a lot of kids who are mainly kind of parents that are falling down kind of the mousetrap, like wondering, why does my kid not have a sticker on his board? And it's kind of hard to explain to them, like it's not all about a sticker. A sticker is not going to make your kid surf good, unfortunately. Like, you know, go put in the time, put in the effort. Brands will come to you when it's ready and time for like, you know, for sponsorships and all that. So yeah, that's definitely a big thing. That's kind of a bummer to see in the surfing world now, where it's all about logos and stuff. Like,
all about that big Instagram following base, which is like raw talent. And I mean, you're a coach, and you started your own like surf academy or lessons.
Yeah,
how's that going?
It's good. It's, you know, it's slow now because it's winter time, and you know the kids, the more the lesson side, like they don't like cold water. It's stormy and it's cold and the waves aren't good, but it's fun just to give back to kids who they want to learn to surf, or even the ones who can't surf and just like need, you know, extra guidance on heat strategy or you know, technique and all that. And I really enjoyed helping out. It does kind of suck where I'm sitting there filming and the waves are firing. I'm just like, oh my god, like, I want to go surf. But it's cool to give back and help kids out.
Well, I don't know a better person to learn heat strategy from than yourself, because I think your track record speaks for itself.
I don't know.
You work closely with Julian Wilson though, right? You went on a boat trip with him, and are you doing anything with him at the moment, or like collaborating?
No, so that's actually funny. That all started from a coaching gig. Local kid in San Clemente, Little Ripper, rides for Julian's brand, Rivia Projects, okay. And they were doing a team boat trip to the Mentawais, and all their Southern California team were all under 18, so they couldn't like travel to Indo by themselves.
Oh no!
And
way.
I was in Hawaii, and one of the dads called me, and I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like, why is he calling? Like, because I hadn't coached him in a while, and he was like, hey, I got an opportunity for you. You want to go to Indo with Julian on a all paid for boat trip for 14 days? I'm like, I was so speechless. I'm like, I thought it was like, hey, there's no way this is gonna happen.
That's insane.
And it was one of those ones where he was like, he told me, he's like, hey, it's not 100%. One of the dads might go. If he doesn't, you're in. And every night I was just praying, like, please, please have work that week. Like, you can't go, please, please. And I got home and then finally got the call, like, hey, you're in. So I was so stoked. And then, I got to meet Julian, a couple other Australian guys that ride for him that were super rad, filmers he brought, and it was such a cool crew, and just hanging on a boat for 14 days in Indo was pretty rad.
Wow, seems like the best chaperone experience that you could ever get.
Yeah,
it just came from
cool.
Connections, right?
Just a full-blown connection. That's all it took.
And then now you and Julian are friends, maybe? Or
I mean, I got him. Talking. He hopped on one of my favorite Timmy boards that I brought over there. It's called Devilfish. And he hopped on it, and it was so fun just watching him ride like a fun board, because I kind of brought like a pretty fun variety of boards. I'm like, you know what? I'm going on a non sponsorship trip for me. Like, I'm not getting filmed or anything, so I'm gonna just go have fun and mess around. And it was pretty cool watching him ride that, and he still rips. So
yeah, I mean that place is like the dream location.
It's surfers. The Disneyland of surfing.
Yeah, and I feel like some people we romanticize these terms and stuff, but people so many people don't understand kind of what we're talking about in our lingo. Do you wish more people could understand, or do you just let it be? More waves for me.
Yeah, I say let it be. Let these people just be so confused of what we're talking about, and we're using all these weird terms for waves and stuff. To them it probably sounds like, hey, these guys are just weirdos. Like, what in the world are they talking about? But keep it incognito.
I agree. You've been to so many places in the world, but I know you've spent a lot of time in Mexico. That's I would say your second home, camping, living there, living simply. Definitely. Do you think those experiences have changed the way that you approach surfing in life compared to those who just stick to the typical surf contest weekend, where sometimes you would just bail to go to Mexico and just catch a sick swell?
Oh, totally. It's taught me so much, being stranded out. I mean, not stranded, but you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you got no help for hundreds of miles. You're kind of on your own, and it's definitely taught me some major life lessons where, I mean, unfortunately it sucks to say, but some kids nowadays, they can't even make a sandwich for themselves. They don't even know how to make a peanut butter and jelly, which is freaking mind boggling. But growing up doing that, taught me camping out there, I got to make sure I have all my gear. Driving, okay, my car is kind of a piece of crap. I got to make sure it makes it there, and all this stuff where things go wrong, I'm familiar on how to get out of that situation. But also scored waves growing up going down there.
Probably some of the best trips of your life.
Yeah, I mean, you've been on multiple of them, but
I got lucky. Yeah, you invited me on so many, or a couple at least.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. I don't invite many people there, but I
feel pretty honored to be. I mean, even though there's one trip that I'll never forget where I didn't even surf. I surfed once, and we went down to some remote location down in Baja, and it was the day after 4th of July, and we were being a little bit degenerates in San Clemente, and we drove down there the next day, and I mean,
yeah, you unfortunately missed a pretty good day of waves, but it happens. You had a really fun night the night before, so it's okay. You scored in other ways than we did, but it's all right.
But then we made it down to Cabo after, and it was pumping down there, and I was still under the weather. Yeah,
I don't think you even touched the ocean once, and then we sent you home on a plane and got you out of there.
Yeah, that was the best plane ride of just getting home in my life, even though I was running away from waves, it felt like.
That was hilarious. You were wrapped up in 5 blankets. It was 110 degrees out, and it's hey, this kid is not all right.
But when you're on those Mexico trips, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from being connected to nature, and kind of off the grid, I would say, because when we're down there, we don't have service most of the time.
I think our biggest rule is no night driving, which we tend to break a little too much. And every single time we break it, like we're trying to make it, okay, we're going to make it just one more town. We'll get there. And some close calls of like wildlife running in the middle of the road.
Oh, really?
It's pretty scary. And then just, other people and theft and all that, like everything bad usually happens at night.
Yeah.
So just kind of have your camp set up in a spot where you're, you feel safe and you're familiar with. It's kind of been our number one rule. And, that's kind of the biggest thing, I think.
I mean, what did you think about, because it was like all over the news, kind of when those 2 Australian guys were down there, and I think they were murdered, right?
Yeah, super scary stuff.
What did you think about that whole situation, going down there for quite some time now?
I mean, unfortunately, I went down there a week after that happened, and I kind of took that as like, okay, there's gonna be no one there. I'm gonna go score with no one around, which, most of the grandparents weren't too happy with that decision, but it sucks. Like, I mean, that stuff, it's so sad, but I mean, that could happen at home. That could happen in LA, where that's an hour away from our house. Like, bad stuff happens everywhere. Kind of wrong place, wrong time, which, super scary. But like I said, like, it could happen.
I mean,
down your street.
Isn't there a rule like you can't camp at least before San Quintin? Like, there's like some unwritten rule, like, where if you do, it could be dangerous.
I don't know if there's like a unwritten rule. That's just like a pretty sketchy, like that whole zone that you're talking about. It's like kind of the places you don't want to stop. You don't really want to hang out. There's not that many good waves around there anyway. So I don't know really why people choose those spots to camp.
Yeah.
Or where unfortunately those people passed away. There is a really good wave out there. And like I said, they were really sad, just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's real bummer that stuff happens down there, but that's kind of how the world works. It happens everywhere.
Yeah, it does. And prayers to those families. I mean,
definitely.
That's such a bummer. I remember when I heard about it, like, I was like, whoa, like the amount of times that I went by there. But sometimes like people like from different cultures, like you've been around the world, don't really understand, like they're just being themselves, but they don't understand like sometimes like different parts of the world, like people act differently. Like
100%.
I don't know. I've seen people down in Mexico like being very loud, being very like drawing a lot of attention, like not taking no for an answer.
Yeah. Where
it's like sometimes you just kind of gotta like be under the radar, put your head down, like don't argue. I wish more people would kind of. I don't know what happened on that trip, and I'm not saying that that's what they were doing.
Yeah, no, yeah, you should
nobody
definitely.
Deserves to do that. Nobody deserves that to happen to them, regardless of what happened. Like,
no,
that's
totally
awful.
Yeah, I mean, traveling down there, you definitely need to be familiar with your surroundings, and I mean, you're going into someone else's home. It's the same as they're coming here. Like, okay, they're camping in front of your house. How would you feel about that kind of thing? So, like, just being respectful as always, and. That I was just recently in Japan, and that was like a pretty cool. It was my second time there, but pretty cool experience. Like how respectful they are over there, and the culture is way different than like back home. So like learning just how respectful they are and just how nice everyone is. Like it's pretty cool.
But you were out there with your dad?
No, it was right? It was a girlfriend trip.
Oh, girlfriend trip.
Yeah, Did
you bring surfboards?
No, I did not bring a surfboard. It was a first trip I've ever done where I did not bring a surfboard bag, which was pretty weird.
That's a far trip with no surfboard.
Yeah, I was kind of losing my mind after a couple. We were there for 2 weeks, and I was like, "Okay, I need to surf." And then we ended up surfing the wave pool there, which was rad. I got 10 waves on a 2-week trip, so yeah, I got to do that.
And you've been out there before with like one of your best friends, right?
Yeah, me and my friend Reiki, we went. I think we were both 15. I don't know how in the world our parents let us go by ourselves. We were 15. Never met the guy we were staying with, and like. He kind of knew my dad a little bit, knew my buddy's dad, and he picked us up and we hung out at his house, and he gave us 2 beach cruisers, and we just rode around Tokyo and surfed, and we actually did a QS over there. I totally forgot about that. Oh, it's like one of my best results I've ever had in a shortboard QS was in Japan. Yeah.
Well, so. we just had Kay on, and I think he just won like back-to-back QS.
Yeah, he did. There. He won. I was there for that last one. He won. We actually saw him at the wave pool. And then I think the next day he won the I think it was a QS or maybe a JPSA. I'm not too sure, but yeah, he freaking crushed it.
Well, like talking about Japan, your name Kai reminds me. I know this one word in Japanese for some reason, Kaizen, and it means like means constant daily improvement.
Oh.
When I like look at everything you've accomplished, I feel like the idea fits you really well. And I just wanted to ask you, like, what's something that you're working on right now to improve and grow in it every day?
I'm definitely kind of realizing that it's like, okay, it's kind of like big boy time. Like I'm 22. Surfing, I mean, I absolutely love it, but unfortunately nowadays, like it's very rare to like make a good living off it. And I think most people don't really realize that. They just like get sucked into the bubble of like, okay, now they're almost 30. They're still living at home, just chasing the QS or the tour or whatever. And I'm kind of realizing now where it's like, okay, it's time to like go get a big boy job and like go get my own place and kind of start like the whole family thing. So I'm definitely looking into the I have a dog. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, okay.
The firefighter stuff. No, looking into the firefighter stuff, and that's something I'm super interested in. And like I have a lot of family members who were firefighters or retired or some still like active, and I think I'm gonna go down that route and still surf as much as I possibly can, but kind of shift career paths.
That would be so epic. I could totally see you becoming a firefighter. I mean, look at the Kevin Schultz story.
Perfect example, yeah.
I could totally see you and following those footsteps kind of. And
yeah.
I really like, one of the reasons is actually that I wanted to start something like this was kind of like to bring awareness to surfers that like these guys that are ripping and doing all these other like that are just like people think just surfers, like they also have like all these other things going on in their lives. Like we don't need to continue to raise another generation of like what people might call like losers. But yeah, that would be so epic, and I could totally see that suiting your lifestyle for the most part.
Yeah, Kevin's a perfect example. Kevin was like, I mean, he still is one of the top San Clemente surfers. Like you see him out every morning, he rips.
I think if he really wanted to, I feel like he could be on tour. Like easily. That's my, like, I think I literally am so inspired by surfing. He's someone I look up to. Like, I want to surf like Kevin. I wish I could surf
Everyone
like
wants
Kevin.
to surf like Kevin.
He has a style. He's so smooth and so like fast. Like I wish I could surf like him. And then he also grinds, and he's a huge part of the firefighting family too. So it's
I mean, he just won the Pismo QS. What was it? Maybe 2 years ago. Like to go and win a QS event at this day and age, like the skill level you have to have is insane. And he went out and freaking smoked everyone, which is pretty insane. And then now he's works for Orange County Fire and has a super good like career path ahead of him. And I still see him at T Street at least a couple times a week. So he's definitely still surfing, which is pretty rad.
Well, yeah, that's a big milestone that you're probably going to start facing here soon.
Yeah.
Could you relate any like thing in surfing that might be similar to what you're going through right now? Like,
I mean, definitely the dedication you got to put in. I'm like signing up for like classes at the moment. So I'm at the very, very beginning of the process, but just from friends who are, a couple steps ahead of me, the work you got to put in to like even get hired, and like, you got to be fit, and like training is crazy. You got to go through all that. The academy, like it's not just a walkthrough. It's not easy. No. So I think that's a little similar to like surfing, where you train and like put in the time and the results will come. So
absolutely,
it's kind of the same.
The funny thing is, like, we didn't even realize it at the time, but when we were kind of being degenerates maybe in high school, like we still, no matter what we did the night before, we still were surfing in the morning, and we had that like commitment and dedication. And I feel like it's still like it instills those skills in our lives, like the commitment to waking up no matter how hungover we are the next day. We would still wake up, no matter how big, how small, how cold, how warm, like we would go and we would surf. And those are just amazing skills that I didn't even realize we were freaking building at the time.
I conquered it.
I mean, you conquered it, but we've all been there. And it's definitely made us who we are today, and put us in the positions where we are. So I'm so grateful for all those memories and moments.
100%. I wouldn't have changed a thing.
No, you still have the tattoo for life, right?
Yeah, I still do. I'm the only one who got that, by the way. So
I don't know how that happened or how many cute girls influenced you into getting that thing, but
oh god, yeah,
I think we all like agreed like, oh yeah, let's get the 4L like life tattoo, like just 4L, and you ended up getting a 4L and another L.
Yeah, someone
and no
put
one
a
else
double
got
L.
it.
Yeah, then no one else got the tattoo.
Oh, that was so funny.
I remember I had to hide that from the parents for like, I think I made it like 2 weeks of hiding it, and then I remember this day the school comp at Creek. I'm like took my wetsuit down and I totally forgot, and they saw it. And I'm like, oh my god. And luckily they weren't that mad, except my mom got like a freaking scrub brush and was just trying to scrub it off my back for like months.
That thing was going nowhere, dude. That thing's for life.
It's literally for life. It ain't coming off.
Yeah. Well, if you had to surf one wave in the world that you haven't surfed yet, where would you go and why?
So Morocco is on my next. It's definitely on the bucket list. I really want to go there. That wave, I didn't even know what it's called, but whatever that wave that like Luke Davis and Billy Kemper got, that insane right is. I want to go there so badly.
Actually, your dad, who I don't think we've ever like mentioned yet, but his dad is like a 3-time world champion longboarder, like probably one of the best longboarders to ever walk the planet. Showed me, I think it was like a photo or something of the board he gave me, and it was him getting freaking drained out in Morocco, and he goes, "That's like the best board."
Same board.
Like,
I'm surprised he actually gave that to you. He's
generous.
He holds on to his magic boards for sure. We're not even allowed to touch them in the garage.
Actually, surprisingly enough, I was surfing churches, and your sister Ezra and your dad were out, and he saw me with the board, and he goes, "Whoa, you still have that thing?"
I think you forgot about
it. And he goes, "Whoa, wait. Never get rid of that thing. Like, actually, can I borrow that for like a day so I could make a replica of it?"
Yeah, copy it.
Yeah,
that board. He's got some crazy Morocco stories. Like when he went a long time ago, it was like still during like wars and stuff, and they were like in their tent posted up like at the surf spot, and he could hear like war going on like a couple miles away, and he said it was pretty gnarly.
Wow.
So I don't think it's like that anymore, but he's got some stories.
Well, Kai McPhillips, everybody. Kai, it's been fantastic having you on the show. Thank you for sharing your insights and experiences with us. To our listener, keep up with his latest projects. Kai, where can they find you and follow your story?
Just my Instagram, just Kai McPhillips, and then my coaching and lesson Instagram is Surf with Kai, so you can find me on there.
Epic. Thanks, Kai, thanks for coming on, and tune into our next episode. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Cut.
That's a wrap. You make us look good?